What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name's Micah, and today we've got to talk about a new bike. You may have heard about it. It hasn't been released yet. What I'm talking about is the Yamaha YFZ-R9. So basically, Yamaha has confirmed that this bike is coming. It's an unusual contender to the middleweight Supersport class. So really what it is a fully fared Supersport style MT-09. So this is gonna be an 890cc inline 3-cylinder motorcycle. Now from what I've read and heard, it's most likely gonna make the same horsepower that the current MT-09 makes. So 117 horsepower and 69 foot-pounds of torque. Now we haven't seen any pictures of this bike from Yamaha yet, but we can kind of assume that it's gonna be along the lines of the current Yamaha R7 and R1. You know what Yamaha did for the R7 is that we had the MT-07, the naked standard version, and then all of a sudden Yamaha came out with the Supersport version. Now typically other brands in the past always have their Supersport version and then they release the naked versions. Now Yamaha has kind of been doing that opposite, but if they keep doing what they're doing, now we've been hearing rumors about this Yamaha R9 for about 2 years now. But now I think we're really getting close to it. Yamaha still has not set a date when it's going to be released, when we're going to see it, but they have confirmed that it's going to be their Supersport Superbike contender for 2025. So knowing that, I think it's pretty safe to assume that we're going to see this bike probably sometime towards the end of 2024. Now, if I were a guessing man, which I am, I would say that Yamaha is going to drop and release this bike at the EICMA trade show this year, 2024, which runs from like November 5th to November 10th. Basically what that is a huge trade show for anything two-wheeled. You know, it goes on in Milan, and I suspect that that is a perfect venue for Yamaha to announce this new R9. So I'm calling it right now. If it's released, if it drops and debuts at that show, November 5th to the 10th, 2024, I'm just gonna say I told you so. So now let's talk about what this bike means for the rest of the middleweight Supersport motorcycle world. Well, so if you talk to the Yamaha fans, they say that it's going to be the latest and greatest thing. It's going to blow everything else as far as middleweight supersports out of the water. You know, if you talk to the Honda and Kawasaki fans, they say that it's never going to sound as good as an inline 4-cylinder 600cc bike. And if you talk to the Suzuki fans, they're still crying about how much of a flop that GSX-800R was. I mean, that thing is bad. Well, I guess it fills a niche of sitting way too far upright and being grossly underpowered for what it is. And sometimes you gotta find your niche. Now, what do I think personally? Well, we have our 2024 ZX-6R, right? So I think I truly believe that is the best middleweight supersport contender on the market right now. And that's for a bunch of different reasons. You know, I think it puts down good power, you know, aftermarket parts and accessories readily available. They're fairly cheap. The ZX-6R is a very well-established model. It's been around for over 20 years. You know, for a long time, it's been revered as one of the best 600cc super sport bikes that you could possibly buy. One of the best stunt bikes of all time. Highly customizable. You know, there's a bunch of things that it has going for it. And so I was super excited to get the 2024 ZX-6R now that they kind of restyled it. And it's an awesome bike. I could not be more happy with it. But on the channel here, we appreciate all motorcycles, all brands, shapes, colors, sizes, and styles. So I am secretly really excited for this R9 to come out, and there's a few different reasons for that. And the first one is really just like the engine, the power plant of that bike. I mean, a triple, you know, an inline 3-cylinder is a really unique engine platform. We haven't seen that too much over the years. I mean, Kawasaki did some triples back in the day. They were wild and uncontrollable, and now they fetch a crazy price. And we saw Triumph, you know, doing triples for a while now, you know, in the mid-2000s when they came out with the Daytona 675R. You know, that was a bike that I think had all the 4 Japanese brands kind of quaking in their boots, a little bit scared. You know, it was a 3-cylinder bike around the 600cc size, and it put down the power, it put down the torque, and it had the looks. So that was definitely a noteworthy triple. But what I like about the inline 3-cylinder motorcycle is that you get the horsepower numbers of an inline 4-cylinder, but you usually get more torque than your inline 4. You know, the torque numbers of a triple are almost getting up to that V-twin almost type graph. So it's really cool. It's almost the best of both worlds. It kind of splits the difference. So like in theory, on paper, it's a great engine. You know, so comparing the numbers of this R9 to say like our 2024 ZX-6R, puts like 122 or 124 horsepower down, you know, with ram air, top speed, you know, it gets up to about 127, and we're suspecting that R9 will be about the same as the MT-09, so 117 for horsepower, and then 69 foot-pounds of torque. You know, our ZX-6R has 52, so that is significantly more torque than our 600cc inline 4. So that'll be interesting. You know, I'm sure it'll be a riot to drive. The thing will just be a wheelie machine. You know, and the MT-09 is a light bike, so I'm sure that the R9 is going to be equally as light. So a light middleweight Supersport with good torque numbers, my goodness, this is going to be the ultimate hooligan bike, maybe of all time. I mean, people already call the MT-09 the ultimate hooligan bike. So I can't even imagine what people are going to say about this R9 when it comes out. Now another thing that I'll say is that the R7, you know, which was kind of a flop. I mean, if you're looking for a higher horsepower, just fun little middleweight ripper, I mean, the horsepower specs of the R7, I think it's like 87 or something for horsepower. Whereas our 2024 ZX-6R, I mean, we literally have like 50% more horsepower. So while your 0 to 60 times are similar, you know, after that, man, the ZX-6 will just run away from an R7. So I think that was the biggest mistake of all time for Yamaha, to ditch the R6 and go to the R7. But what I'll say about the R7 is that it is the most beautiful middleweight supersport I have ever seen in my life. Yes, we own the Kawasaki ZX-6R, but I have no shame in saying that that Yamaha R7 is a better looking bike in every sense, from the front, from the side, from the back, from the top. Like, that is just a beautiful machine, and seeing it in pictures is one thing, but seeing it in person, like the R7, is just gorgeous. And I think it's safe to assume that the R9 is really gonna look almost identical to the R7. They could do something slightly different with the headlights. You know, we kind of saw a slight change in the front end when there was the R6 and the R1, and then we saw the R7. So it's probably gonna have little slits for LEDs, maybe like a Cyclops projector in the center. But I think the styling of it, of the R9, is going to be pretty similar, if not identical, to the R7. So that makes me extremely excited. So outside of those two things, you know, the power, the torque, the styling of it, you know, Yamaha is now ranked the most reliable motorcycle brand in the world, which between all your 4 main Japanese brands, the big 4, Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha, Suzuki, they're all so reliable. I mean, they're just all fighting for the top spot. So yes, Yamaha technically took the top spot, but when you look at the numbers, it's not even a noteworthy difference. You can't even it's not like you could say that Honda, Kawasaki, or Suzuki's are unreliable. I mean, they're just all right there at the top. Extremely reliable motorcycles, extremely great brands. But so you know the platform is gonna be just rock solid, be problem-free, minimum maintenance. You know, and that's what we want, that's what we like, that's what draws us to Japanese bikes over, say, you know, the Indians, the Harleys, some of the European stuff, the Ducatis, the Aprilias. Now, all those brands can make wonderful bikes. You know, they each have some bikes that really stand out and are just the king of their class in a sense. But, you know, all the brands outside of the Japanese Big Four have significantly less reliability ratings. You know, some of the European stuff, the maintenance intervals, significantly more often, a lot more things you have to watch and worry about. And then on top of that, the price is going to be way higher on some of them. So they're cool for what they are. You know, if you're just a biker, if you're a rider and you want to be on your bike and never wrenching on it, probably stay away from some of the American and European things. You probably just want something from one of those Japanese Big Four. Now, of course, I'll say that Indian and Harley and Triumph and, you know, Ducati, Aprilia, man, KTM, they all have some fantastic motorcycles. I mean, stuff that puts down the power, stuff that'll just blow your mind, that really is exhilarating. But sometimes it can weigh on the wallet and be a headache as far as, you know, maintenance and upkeep goes. Now, the one thing I can tell you that I will not like about the R9 is going to be the sound of it. Now, I don't know about for you guys, but for me and for a lot of people, the sound of your motorcycle is so key. That is such an important thing. That's why all of us, you know, one of the first things we do to our bikes is order exhaust. Some people, some of you guys out there will order exhaust before you even get your motorcycle. Now, I have never done that, but I usually have it in my Amazon cart or, you know, have it ready to go because I'm planning on getting that bike. So we all want a great sounding bike, you know, I mean, that's normal. But the inline 3-cylinder is very unique. You know, it has a smoother sound like an inline 4-cylinder bike, but they just don't wind up quite as much. The sound just doesn't reach those high-pitched notes that you really want it to. It just doesn't quite sing in the high RPMs like an inline 4-cylinder would. Anytime I've heard a great sounding Yamaha MT-09 with exhaust, I mean, the thing sounds great at idle. I'll hear it take off and drive away, and the person driving it is just bringing it up to red line, banging through gears. And I always just wish that pitch, that tone got a little bit higher, that it wrapped out a little bit more. The sound of the inline triples just leaves me wanting more. Now, it does have a little bit more bass, a little bit more full sound to it, I guess, at idle or low RPM than an inline 4. But when you're really wringing its neck, the inline 3-cylinders, the triples, my ears are not satisfied. But outside of the sound, you know, the thing could have potential. Just everything about it is super weird. You know, the engine size, that it's the 3-cylinder. So in light of that, I think that we here, me, Micah, through our channel, Bikes and Bangs, I think that it is our duty, our responsibility to get this so-called Yamaha R9 when it comes out and compare it to our 2024 ZX-6R. Now, am I gonna sell our 2024 ZX-6R? Absolutely not. I'm thinking that I want to get that R9 so I can have that in the garage right by the ZX-6R, so I can take that R9 for a ride and then come back, take the ZX-6R for a ride, take you guys along with, so that we can all find out and settle the debate. Will this R9 be the ZX-6R, CBR 600RR, GSXR 600, and just every other middleweight Supersport killer? And to be honest, I don't know the answer to that right now. I know that Yamaha makes some fantastic motorcycles, and I'm just beyond curious. I really can't wait for this Yamaha R9. So you know what? I'm just gonna call up our dealership right now, and without this bike even being released, I'm gonna put a deposit on one just so that we get the first one in the Midwest, and then I'll make a ton of videos about it. We'll take it for a ride. We'll put all kinds of parts and exhaust and tail tidies, and we'll just do everything to it. So you guys can see how cool this bike is and how cool we can make it.
Yeah, what's up, buddy?
Oh, not too much. Hey, I was just calling you today and wanted to see if you had heard anything about this Yamaha R9 that's kind of looming on the horizon.
Our rep hasn't been up here for a couple weeks now, but I'll bring it up with him, see if he's got any additional information.
Yeah, I just, I mean, I love the ZX-6. I plan on keeping that. The thing is just a riot, but I kind of wanted to have one of those R9s as well. So I just wanted to try and, I mean, you guys don't have any deposits for any, do ya?
No, not now.
I mean, would you take a deposit for one without it even being released yet? Because from everything I've read and heard, I think we're going to see it late 24 here.
I'm kind of looking, I'm sure you've already done all this research with it, but I mean, it wouldn't be surprising given the fact that they have the naked in a 9.
Right. Yeah, I mean, gosh, I'd give you some cash today over the phone, or if you'd take a card number just to kind of get in line for one.
Let me get in here. How you been otherwise?
Oh gosh, man, life is so good. No complaints at all. The weather's been getting warmer, and so I'm a summertime person.
I would have rode in today if I would have known it was going to be this nice this afternoon. Well, and as soon as when the rep comes up, which he should be getting up here, I'll holler at him and see if we've got any kind of confirmation date with it. So, I will let you know when I hear something.
All right, appreciate you, man.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, and that's it. We are the first one in the Midwest to have a deposit on the YFZ-R9. So that's super cool. You know, as far as colors that thing is probably going to come out in, I think it's safe to assume that it's probably going to be white, black, and blue. I think they're probably going to go along those lines that they did with the R7, kind of just the classic Yamaha colors. But yeah, very exciting. So I just wanted to ramble on about that bike. You know, if some of you have heard about that, I certainly have, and I'm very curious about it. So figured we'd talk about it a little bit, just to share my opinion on what I think about that. So yeah, it is gonna be a while until we see that, but it's something to look forward to, and so that's super exciting. So anyways, guys, like the video if this helped you out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more, or if you want to check out our R9 whenever we get it. But regardless of when it comes out, we're gonna have one of the first ones in the nation. But yeah, until next time, have a wonderful night, guys.